Every breath in an 1870s mining boomtown tastes like powdered rock. Grit settles into your lungs at concentrations no modern workplace would tolerate for a single hour. There are no safety rules here, no clean air. And the real killers are not outlaws. They are the dust, the blast fumes, and the water you drink to survive. The men running these camps knew it, and they considered every broken body just another cost of extraction. A miner wakes before dawn to the taste of stone. Grit lines his teeth, and every inhale draws a powder that sticks to the back of his throat. The first sound is not birdsong, but a cough, wet then dry, persistent, scraping at his chest. By the time he reaches the shaft, the air is already thick. Stamp mills pound through the night, sending clouds of crushed rock into the sky and back down onto the camp. The dust settles on food, in bedding, and deep inside lungs. There is no escape, no mask, no rule to keep the air clean. On a typical day, each breath pulls in about 2 to 3 milligrams of dust per cubic meter, numbers that would shut down any modern workplace. Here, it's the cost of staying alive. By evening, the handkerchief he uses to wipe his mouth is streaked black, just like the sputum he spits into the dirt. The slow suffocation is measured not in sudden disaster, but in the daily grind. A cough that never leaves, a chest that tightens, a body that grows weaker with every shift. The camp's profit comes first. The miner's lungs are collateral. The mine's heartbeat is the blast. Black powder packed deep into the rock, a fuse hissing in the dark, and men pressed back against the cold drift wall, counting seconds. There is no warning bell, no siren, just a shouted signal and the hope that every man is clear. On March 12, 1875, at the Anaconda copper mine, the fuse burned too fast. A charge went off before the crew had time to run. The explosion ripped through the lower level, igniting a powder magazine and hurling a wave of hot gas, shattered timber and stone down the shaft. 12 men died that morning. Their names were entered on a casualty roster that grew longer with each season. John T. Miller, foreman, age 38. William H. Samuels, driller, age 24, and 10 more, some as young as 16. 24 others staggered out, faces streaked black, coughing up blood and soot. The air after a blast is a choking fog, carbon monoxide, sulfur, fine silica dust, all swirling in a dense, acrid plume. In the rush to keep the ore flowing, clearance time shrank. Instead of waiting half an hour, men were sent back in after 10 minutes, their lungs burning, eyes watering, skin stinging with every breath. A soaked rag over the mouth was the only defense. The company sent a relief crew, but no new safety rules. The records show that the real danger was not just the blast itself, but the invisible poison left behind, an air thick enough to kill, and a system that demanded men return before the smoke cleared. Water in the camp is never just water. In the summer of 1876, Leadville's miners drank from a spring that looked clear enough, but the taste was off, metallic with a hint of rot. Within weeks, men began to fall ill. The first signs were stomach cramps, then fever, then a relentless, bloody diarrhea that left even the strongest too weak to stand. By the end of July, nearly 300 people were stricken, and 8% would not survive. The culprit was invisible, a spring choked with tailings and animal waste, runoff from the very industry that kept the town alive. The local council, faced with mounting deaths, voted to tax the mining companies and fund a new well, drilled uphill and far from the old contamination. Quinine and oak bark poultices offered little comfort. Dr. Samuel Woodward wrote in the Chronicle, "The water we drink is killing us faster than any blast. In a place where every surface was layered with dust and danger, even a drink could be a slow poison." The fear seeped into every boarding house and bunk. a reminder that survival here was never guaranteed. Sarah Whitaker's boarding house stands at the edge of Main Street, its walls barely holding back the cold and the noise from the camp. Her ledger is a careful record of every man who comes through the door, a name, a bunk assignment, a tally of meals, and the monthly rent, $8, due in cash, or whatever could be spared. The rules are posted in a neat hand by the kitchen: no smoking after 10, no drinking in the rooms, and a $2 fine for breaking curfew. Whitaker enforces them with a mixture of patience and steel. On October 2nd, 1875, she wrote of a boarder who tried to pay his rent with whiskey scrip from the saloon. His meals stopped until the debt was settled. When cash runs short, miners offer up small sacks of ore, hoping the local assayer will give enough to cover another week of shelter and bread. The ledger's margins are filled with IOUs and barter notes, reminders that even before payday, wages are already spent. The boarding house is no refuge from the camp's grind. It is another stop in the chain of debts and deals that keep everyone running just to stand still. Payday in the camp does not bring relief. It brings a flood to the saloon doors. Miners line up, hands still stained with dust and ore, wages already burning holes in their pockets. The bartender stands behind the counter, ledger open, pencil poised. He knows every name, every debt, every weakness. With a nod, he pours whiskey on credit, chalks up another round on a tab, or slides dice across the bar. The camp's unwritten rule is simple: money moves fast and almost never leaves Main Street. A single night of cards can wipe out a week's pay. One entry in the Red Mountain Saloon book records a miner losing 12 gold pieces at dice, his debt settled not in cash, but by slicing $6 straight from his next paycheck. The bartender handles the math and the muscle. He will see the money, or the miner will work until the ledger says otherwise. Payroll deductions are not just for tools or rent. They are for whiskey, cigars, and the price of hope dangled at the bottom of a glass. By the end of the week, many owe more than they earn. Tabs stretch for months, binding men to the mine and the bar alike. The saloon is more than a place to drink. It is a trap, a relief valve, and a record keeper all in one. For some, it is the only place to forget the cough and the dust. For most, it is where freedom slips away, one round at a time. A miner's luck can change in a single moment. Limbs crushed by falling timber, hands mangled by gears, or eyes blinded by flying chips of stone. These injuries are not rare, but routine. Coroner records from Fremont County tally 27 serious injuries for every 1,000 men each year, a number that does not include those who limp away quietly, hoping to heal on their own. The camp surgeon, more often a former Army doctor than a trained physician, works out of a tent or a rented room armed with a bone saw, a bottle of whiskey, and a stack of bandages boiled in creek water. There is no hospital, no ambulance, no guarantee of recovery. The best hope is a quick amputation and a clean wound. Infection follows the knife, and fever can claim a man days after he survives the blast. When Thomas Brown sued Silver Creek Mining Company for $500 in medical costs after a shaft collapse, the court awarded him just $75, barely enough for a month's care. The judge cited a signed waiver, reminding everyone that risk was the miner's own burden. Even those who survive face a new kind of ruin. Unable to work, they become dependent on the charity of bunkmates or the meager credit of a boarding house. The injury does not end with the wound. It echoes through every debt, every meal skipped, every night spent staring at a ceiling, listening to the camp surgeon's boots crunching in the dirt outside. The real power in camp is recorded in ink, not gunpowder. At the company store, a ledger lists every purchase: flour, boots, tobacco, whiskey, each one tallied against a miner's name. The average tab runs close to $30, nearly half a month's pay. Foremen keep a tight grip on who works, who eats, and who owes. A missed shift or a lost hand means the debt stays, but the job disappears. The store's script is good only here, locking wages inside the camp's walls. When a miner contests the charges, the law rarely sides with labor. In 1877, a group of miners brought suit in Smith versus Frontier Saloon, arguing that inflated prices and endless credit kept them in a cycle of debt. The court ruled in their favor, ordering the ledgers audited and interest stopped, but the victory was brief. For every rare win, a dozen more cases vanished into the dust, and the hierarchy held, owners at the top, foremen as gatekeepers, and workers bound by ink and signature as much as pick and shovel. Survival in camp depends on more than muscle or luck. When the air turns thick after a blast, men tie wet cloths over their faces, trading tips on which fabric filters the worst of the grit. Meals are often pooled. One man brings bread, another a handful of beans, another a scrap of salt pork. No one eats well, but no one starves alone. During the harshest weeks, crews rotate shifts so that the weakest can catch an extra hour of sleep or a breath of cleaner air above ground. Pride runs deep in small things: a well-sharpened pick, a clever way to brace a tunnel, a hand steady enough to light a fuse in the dark. These are not men waiting for rescue. They are adapting, sharing what little they have, and holding each other up when the system will not. In this place, dignity is not given but built day by day out of necessity and grit. Today, every workplace safety rule and clean air law stands on the bones and breath of those who had neither. The ache of dust in your chest and the sting of tainted water are not distant relics. They are reminders. Comfort and protection are fought for, not given. Their struggle still echoes.